You know, Harris III has traveled all over the world, 5 continents, 20 countries. He's been able to be an illusionist and bring his show to over 1 million people around the world. But he told me before the services, one of the things he discovered along the way is that there are a lot of things that the world of illusion and deception and sleight of hand illustrate in terms of spiritual things. And that there's really a deep and profound message that comes along with the idea of the illusion and things that come along with the show. And that he's even more passionate than doing the illusions. He's passionate about communicating this message. So he's come to us all the way from Nashville, Tennessee to Omaha, Nebraska in order to bring his illusions, to bring his message. Friends in Omaha, let's show somebody from Nashville how we welcome guests in Omaha, Nebraska. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Harris III.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Like I said, my name is Harris. I came all the way from Nashville. I'm here in Omaha to deceive you guys. That's pretty much why I'm here. I came to mess with your minds, assault your senses, pretty much try to trick you guys every chance I get. The good news is I'm not a politician, all right? As you heard, I am an illusionist. And so while I will trick you, I'm also gonna tell you guys the truth, but it's okay. I wanna make you guys a part of that experience. Can I make you a part of the service this morning? Is that okay? All right, let's get you guys warmed up. Everybody here, take your hands, just put your hands out in front of you like this. We'll get you guys started with something fun. Everybody can participate. Hands out in front. Everybody, kids, adults too. Come on, do it. I'm not gonna take your wallets, I promise. It's safe, hands out in front. All right, step number 1 goes like this. Just take your hands, stretch your fingers out really well. Stretch them out really well. Holy cow, did you guys hear that? You guys sound like a stressed out crowd here this morning. Someone over here just broke like 14 fingers. Was that you? Your hands were popping like crazy. All right, as soon as you have your hands stretched out, hands out in front of you again. This time you're gonna take your thumbs that are facing up, just turn them down to the inside like this, so that they're facing down. Backs of your hands together like this. Take one arm, cross it over the other. That's where things get a little more complicated. See if you can take your hands and just interlock your fingers back together. Squeeze them together really tight, do not let go. Make sure you keep your thumbs down. Hold that right there. I'm just gonna scan the crowd real quick. Wanna make sure everyone's actually participating. Got a couple of ushers up there in the top not participating. Yeah, I caught you guys. All right, yeah, there you go. Good job. All right, keep squeezing really tight. All right, final step goes like this. You guys can wiggle both of your pinkies. It's kind of hard at the same time. And then just follow along. Everybody do this. All right, thumbs up. Let's give them a good little twist. No? Okay, maybe not. Everybody do this. All right, you guys are catching on. You're catching on. That was a really simple magic trick that someone explained to me when I was a kid. And what I find really interesting is that they did not perform it for me at first. They just explained it to me. Basically, a guy said, Harris, did you know if you walk up to a complete stranger and you ask them to do this and this and this with their hands, they actually have no idea how to get their thumbs facing up. I said, man, no one's ever gonna fall for something that simple. I went and tried it for someone, like many of you guys, their minds were blown, and they said, how in the world did you do that? And I walked away from that short performance thinking, oh man, it is so easy for people to be deceived. And what I've now discovered after traveling around the world over the last 20 years doing magic and illusion shows, I've discovered it's true. It is easy for us to be deceived. But that's not because you guys aren't smart. I've discovered you guys are all really intelligent human beings. The problem is the average person, unlike a magician or an illusionist, you just haven't really studied the subject of deception. Most people didn't take trickery class in school or anything like that, and therefore most people have no idea how deception works or even aware of the fact that there are people who are trying to deceive them. And so I want to talk a little bit about that here this morning, but I know it's going to be way more fun if I actually show you guys and demonstrate, right? So I brought along a deck of cards with me. I need 3 people from the audience to help me out with these cards. Rather than you guys raise your hands, here's how this is gonna work. You can put your hands back down for just a second. If I come out and pick you, people are gonna accuse me of cheating, that somehow I'm controlling which card you take, and also that maybe this is set up and rigged. I wanna make sure this is really clear. This has not been prearranged. I didn't talk to anyone before the service started. This was not set up, rigged, or prearranged. I actually have no control over which 3 people will look at these cards. But 3 of you in a moment will have any choice, 1 out of 52. To make it random, I just have these rubber bands here around my wrist. I'm gonna rubber band the deck of cards up nice and tight. That way the cards don't fly around and go everywhere. And then I'm simply gonna take the cards and I'm just gonna toss them out into the audience. Whoever catches them or whoever they smack in the head. If you're off your cell phone, you'll probably catch them. That's who will help out. Now, if you're one of the 3 people who catch the cards, listen up. These are your instructions. Really simple job. All I need you to do is just simply look at a card somewhere in the middle of the deck. Just look at any one you want. Don't choose the one in the front here, the King of Hearts. Make it difficult for me. Somewhere here at the two corners where the cards are actually printed, lift up anywhere you want in the middle of the deck. Look at the corner of a card. Look at one. Memorize the name of it. As soon as you see the card, don't forget it. All right? Don't forget it. Do not forget your card, all right? If you forget your card, this whole thing is very uninteresting. Trust me, from personal experience. After we throw the cards around the room, you're gonna toss them underhanded from person to person. Underhanded, okay? Go home from church today, look up my YouTube channel, look at my YouTube videos. You will find out why this is a really bad idea, all right? Somewhere in this section, audience, guys, heads up, all right? Here come the cards. Somebody catch the cards? All right, who has the cards? Oh, she's breaking rules. She's passing them around. All right, do you guys actually know the names of all the cards? You know what all the suits are called? Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, maybe get some help with the person next to you. You guys can actually work together. Look at a card somewhere in the middle of the deck. Don't say it out loud. Just look at one. As soon as you see one, memorize the name of it. You don't have to pull it out. All you got to do is just look at it. All right, got one? Perfect. All right, don't forget the name of that card. You're going to toss them underhanded, maybe somewhere in this middle section on either side of that aisle. Give them a nice little underhanded toss. Nice catch, dude. All right, you're the second person's second card. Your eyes only, lift up somewhere in the middle of the deck. Yeah, all right, cool. Got it? Don't forget what the name of the card you just saw. Toss it one more time up here in this front section, or all the way over there. It's cool too. All right, that works. All right, go ahead and lift up somewhere in the middle of the deck. As soon as you see one, let me know. All right, got it? All right, cool. There's the last person. You can throw the cards all the way back up here to me on the stage. Yep, here we go. Just give them a nice, good toss. Here we go. Awesome. Just a little bit off. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, this is where things get a lot more interesting. If you just looked at a card, please stand up. The three people who looked at a card, please stand up. We had one right here. Maybe you can stand up with him. The way people can actually see you standing. There we go. And you, and perfect. Right now, I need all three of you to look up here at me. I want you to concentrate on the name of your card. I want you to picture your card. Pretend like in your imagination there's a big white blank movie screen just sort of hanging invisibly up here in the air. Use your mind. Just see the image of your card up on this screen in your mind. Picture it in color, red or black. There's only two colors. Picture the shape of the spots. Count out those number of spots. Here's what's going to happen. Without them saying anything at all out loud, I'm just going to try to get a feeling of the cards they're thinking of, and I'm going to attempt to name them. Now, as I name your card, I want you guys to keep a straight face. We'll save the suspense until the end. Don't say yes, don't say no, don't nod your head, don't even smile, okay? Just concentrate, listen, picture your card. Okay, hopefully I get at least 2 out of 3. Do you know the names of the cards in sign language? Okay, all right, we'll give it a shot. Here we go. There's a 4 of spades, that's the arrow. There's also a 7 of spades. Last one is red, it's a 3. 3 of hearts, 3 of hearts. If I correctly name the card that you were thinking of, would you please sit down? All right, let's give them all 3 a big round of applause. All right. Now, before anyone here gets freaked out and starts thinking, who invited this guy to our church? Let me make myself really clear. I am an illusionist. That means that what you just experienced was just an illusion, right? Obviously, I don't have any sort of supernatural powers. I'm not trying to convince you I have any sort of psychic abilities. This isn't sorcery or witchcraft or any sort of Harry Potter skills or anything like that. What you're experiencing here this morning in church was just simply an illusion. It was a trick on your eyes, on your minds, nothing more. If I'm honest with you guys, it was a simple trick. A trick that I could actually explain to everyone here today in about 5 minutes or less. I won't. But I could, right? The reason I won't is, first of all, it would ruin all the fun, right? It's that wonder that makes magic so magical. The idea of the art of magic and illusion as a performing art wouldn't even exist if people tried to figure everything out. Magicians always joke around because magic is the only type of performance in the entire world where the entire audience is trying to mess it up for themselves, all right? So instead of trying to figure out the secrets to the trick, understand that awe, wonder, mystery are actually among some of life's most beautiful experiences. So I can't tell you the secret or it would ruin all the fun. But even if I told you, wouldn't give you the ability to go out and perform it. Like just owning that guitar right there, that doesn't make someone a musician any more than knowing the secret to a trick makes someone an illusionist. It's a natural ability that anyone can learn to perform, but it takes hours of practice invested into it. But that has fascinated me for over a decade now. The fact that anyone with the right training and knowledge and practice can create the illusion and appearance of something that seems very real. Let me tell you how I started thinking about this. A little over 10 years ago, I was on a tour in Southeast Asia. I was performing in 2 countries, India and Sri Lanka, this little island off the southern coast of India. And while I was in Sri Lanka, I performed an illusion with an old antique table, very similar to this one up here on stage. After the show, this man came up to me and he was very fascinated by this table. He kept asking me questions like, where did you get that table? And to find out, the reason he was asking is because down the street from where he lived, there was a man who had a table, and apparently his table looked exactly like mine. The man who'd had the table claimed it could move around. He said it could actually slide across the floor without anyone touching it. He said that was possible because of spirits, that the spirits were manifesting their presence by making the table move. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to believe, so I decided, let's just go visit this man with this mysterious table. Let's do a little bit of research. And what I discovered that day shocked me and taught me a lesson I will never forget. Before I tell you what that lesson was, I want to perform this for you. To do that, I need some more help from the audience. And I want to actually get one of you up here on stage to help out this time. If you'd like to help out, please raise your hand, all right? Let's go with, all right. How about the girl right here? You've got a striped shirt on with a little pink tag or, yeah, collar. Come on, yeah, you come on up, everybody. Clap for her. Give her a big round of applause for volunteering as she comes on up. Hi. How are you? Good. What's your name? Kate. Very nice to meet you, Kate. How old are you? 13. Really? No way. That is exactly how old I was when I was your age. That's great. You actually laughed at that. All right, we're going to take the table, put it right here in between you and I. Kate, if you wouldn't mind, step right there for me. All right, turn around, face the table. Tiny little step forward, very small step. A little bit more. Oh, too close back, just a little bit. Right over that trap door. Okay, it would be great. I'm just kidding. There's nothing down there. No trap doors. All right, I can't cheat. Solid stage. There's a table in front of you. There's a tablecloth draped across the top of the table. Kate, the reason I need you nice and close is I just need you to help me hang onto the corners of the tablecloth. There's 2 on your side. Just hold 1 corner in each hand. I'm gonna hold the 2 corners over here on this side in my hands. And Kate, no matter what happens, do not hold this table down, okay? Don't hold the table down. Don't put any downward pressure on it. Just hold the corners lightly like this with plenty of slack. If this works, if the table decides to move, I just need you to move with the table, okay? Hey, let's give Kate a big round of applause for volunteering. Kate, thanks so much for coming up. You were an awesome helper. Great job. Watch your step. Make sure you don't trip. You guys can do better than that for Kate. Give it up for Kate, everybody. She was awesome. Good job. Okay, quick question, just quick poll. How many of you guys just saw a table levitating in church this morning right here on this stage with your own eyes? Anyone? Did anyone see that happening? All right, cool. Put your hands back down. How many of you guys would agree that what you just experienced seemed very real? Yeah, anyone? Okay, cool. Now, there's this little inner dialogue, right? Because a lot of you guys right now, you're thinking, he's an illusionist, he's an illusionist, he's an illusionist, right? That means there must be some sort of natural explanation. But yet this other side of your brain is going, I don't know, I'm perceiving everything with my own senses. It looks real, it seems, there's not an explanation that I can possibly see. Therefore, that doesn't mean that one doesn't exist. And so I want to talk to you guys this morning about how it is that we get tricked into believing the things that we believe, the lies that we get tricked into believing, simply because of how our five senses work. Because so many times we utilize our five senses to try to figure out what the truth is. And the problem is what we see is not always real. Like what I just did for you proves that seeing is not always believing, right? Like we think that seeing is believing, and sometimes it is, but not always, because what I just did looked real, but it wasn't. So many times we trust our senses, and what about this guy in Sri Lanka, though? So let me be clear. The guy in Sri Lanka, he was telling me the truth. There really was a guy in his village who had a table that looked exactly like mine. However, the part about him communicating with spirits and all that stuff, that was a big fat lie. He was doing nothing supernatural in any way whatsoever. I believe in the supernatural, trust me, but he was doing nothing supernatural. A lot of people think, well, how do you know for sure? I know for sure because I went to visit the guy. After talking to him, I found out that he got his table from the same place I got mine. He ordered it from a magic trick catalog from the state of Kansas all the way from the United States of America. He was doing a magic trick that anyone can learn to perform with a significant investment of time and resources. Honestly, it took that guy and me about 6 months of hard work and practice to learn to create that illusion the way that you just experienced it. But it wasn't real. And as I got on the plane, flying across the ocean back home to America, this guy is all I could think about. All I could think about was this guy with the table. And what I kept thinking was, if it was totally fake, why did so many people get tricked into believing the lie that he was telling? And I don't mean like this little white lie that's hard, like as if there is such a thing, right? I mean, literally thousands of people in this country turned away from everything they formerly believed to be true about life. They became followers of his religion. They made the changes that he encouraged them to make. They started making the kind of choices that he told them to make, all because of their trust in him, because of his power. And the evidence of his power? A magic trick that any 8-year-old child can perform with 15 years of practice, right? So if it was totally fake, why did they allow their senses to deceive them? And then it hit me. I still remember to this day staring down at the ocean and having this epiphany. And all of a sudden, the talents that I have as an illusionist took on this whole new purpose. I realized on that plane that the principles of deception were universal. What I mean by that is this: the same principles that people like me use, magicians and illusionists, to trick people like you in the context of a magic show. Those exact same principles are used by people all around the world every single day to trick you guys into believing all sorts of stuff that's not true. Why? Well, it looks good. It sounds good. It feels right. But what your five senses perceive to be true is not always equal to what the reality actually is. Just because something feels true doesn't mean it is. Just because something feels like it's not true doesn't mean it's not. So we have to become better at not really trusting our senses and asking yourself if there's truth that exists that can kind of trump what we see, smell, taste, touch, and hear. Does that make sense? So I want to break this idea down just a little bit for you guys about how we trust our senses. So we're going to play a little game together. In this game, I have a card. I've got a little white card, and I've taken a big black marker, and we've just sort of drawn some spots on both sides of the card. I'm going to show you both sides of the card. Your job is simply to remember how many spots you see on each side. Really simple. Everyone remember one spot on this side. All right, remember that? 4 spots on this side. Remember 3 spots on this side, 6 spots on this side, 1 spot right over here. Okay, every time I do this, there's always a few people who sort of start to grin and nod your head up and down, right? It's a simple optical illusion. You're starting to figure this out already. A lot of you look confused, though, so we'll try it again. Here we go. 1, 4, 3, 6, and 1. Okay, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Show of hands. How many of you have already figured out the secret to how this trick works? Nice. You look around, all the kids are raising their hands. Most of the adults still look really confused. That's awesome. All right, now I can tell a lot of you guys are being humble, right? And if you haven't figured this out yet, don't worry, I'm gonna teach it to you. I'm gonna show you exactly how it works, and try not to be too hard on yourselves. Hey, when I do this back in the South where I live, this part of the show takes over half an hour, all right? So you guys are really smart here in Omaha. You're doing great in Omaha. I'm totally kidding if you're from the South, all right? Most of you guys know that I actually have 2 spots. Now, I'm talking to you guys this morning about how we can't always trust our senses and how we're deceived, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the perfect example of an illusion. Watch, if I take my hand, if I cover up that second spot, if I look at people and say 1, I know from experience, I'm trained as an illusionist to know that you guys will do something you do almost every single day. You make an assumption. Yeah, your eyes see one spot. Your ears heard someone confirm what your eyes were already seeing. Your mind was led to assume, I must be seeing everything there is to see. There must be only one spot on this side. Yet if I take my hand, if I put it on this side, if I look at you and say 3, everything changes, right? The way the psychology works causes your eyes to actually see that third spot. Your eyes see it and project it underneath my hand. Tell your brain it's actually there. Your brain convinces your eyes that you actually saw it, even though it's not there at all, even though there are only 2. Now, I'll give you guys a tip about deception. Most deception only works because of your willingness to let someone else do your thinking for you. Now, most of us think that we do all our thinking for ourselves, but let me give an example. You see, if I turn my hand over, if I look at you guys and say, hey, how many spots do you guys see? The trick wouldn't work. You guys would actually answer by saying, I see 2. You see, simply by me putting it in the form of a question, it gives your subconscious permission to think a little bit more critically. You actually start thinking for yourself and you figure out the secret to the trick. I don't let you think, I think for you. You let me. I look at you and say 3, your mind sees 3, even though there are only 2. Crazy, but it's that simple. Same is true with the other side. Looks like 4, they're actually 5, right? If I cover the 5th spot and say 4, your mind sees 4. Put my hand over here on this side and say 6. Once again, you guys see 6 spots. Some of you guys just caught on. That is awesome. Good job. Put my hand on this side and say 6. You guys will actually see 6, even though there's only 5. Pretty cool, huh? Like, that's how illusions work. Now, I know I keep saying over and over again this morning, it's easy to be deceived. It's easy to be deceived. And I'm telling you guys, it's true. I know I sound like a broken record, but some people look at this card long enough, they actually see 3 spots on this side of the card. The exact same thing is true with the other side. Some people see 6 spots on this side of the card. There are 3. There are 6. You know what? Sometimes the more you guys look at this thing, the more spots you're actually going to see. That is an example of an illusion and why you guys can't always trust your senses. But you did a good job following along. Give yourselves a round of applause for that one. You did a pretty good job. I'm impressed. I really am impressed. You did good. Now, can you begin to understand why maybe it's not the wisest idea to just trust everything that you see and hear and feel? How possible it might be for your emotions and your feelings and your senses to sometimes lead you astray? Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys have ever gotten tricked into making a choice that later on you wish you wouldn't have made? Anyone? Yeah? I'm gonna raise 2 hands, right? Because it's happened to me so many times in my lifetime. It's happened to all of us, hasn't it? And I bet if we were to go back to that moment where you made that choice that you now wish you wouldn't have made, I bet in that moment, part of the reason why you made that choice is the same reason why I made my wrong choices. In the moment, it did look like a good idea, doesn't it? I mean, in the moment, it might have sounded like a good idea. Something might have convinced you, and it sounded very convincing. In the moment, it might have even felt like a good idea. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but being an illusionist has taught me that things are not always as they seem. We live in a world where it is so easy for us to be deceived. Did you guys know that here in America, we take in 4,000 to 5,000 messages and advertisements every single day? 5,000 messages a day saying, hey, why don't you just drive this? Why don't you just buy this? Just wear this. Just go do this, and it will give you life. The problem is we attain those things, and then, well, they make us feel good for a short period of time, but then that feeling of awesome life kind of starts to wear off, doesn't it? You see, God is offering you life. The problem is this world keeps offering you counterfeit versions rooted in illusions. And sometimes we settle for those fake counterfeit versions instead of ditching the illusions and discovering the truth found in a relationship with God. Now, I'm not the first person to ever talk about this. I mean, as much as I would love to claim, because that'd be really cool, to come here to Omaha and be like, guys, guess what? I've created this brand new truth. I've made this brand new discovery, and God has uniquely called me alone to go share this idea with the world. I'm not the first person to ever talk about this. In fact, everything I'm talking about, this idea of how we're deceived, it's been around since the beginning of time. If we had time this morning to open up our Bibles and start at the very beginning and go through all the pages of the entire book of Scriptures, how long would it take for deception to enter the scene? Genesis, yep, the first book of the Bible. Now, how many chapters of that first book of the Bible would it take for deception into the scene? Yeah, 3, right? Like 3 chapters of the Bible, of that huge book of the Bible. That's how long it took for us to get tricked into believing lies. I bet a lot of you guys know the story. There's 2 people there. The very first 2 people God ever created, Adam and Eve. They're in this place called the Garden of Eden. Yeah, and the Bible says it is absolute perfection. You see, the world that we know today wasn't like that at first. It was absolute perfection. God created everything. He eventually creates Adam and Eve. He steps back and says, this is really, really good. This is perfect. Now, what did it take to get from that to what we are today? What did it take to mess up perfection? Deception, right? Just a few little tricks, that's all. You see, the master of deception in that story, he comes slithering into the garden in the form of a serpent. And he doesn't start by just blatantly lying to Adam and Eve. He starts by just asking a question. Now, before we talk about what that question was, let's try to wrap our minds by that scene. Let's wrap our minds around perfection. Can you guys imagine perfection? What would perfection feel like? Like, perfection means no sin, right? It means no mistakes, no bad day that you have ever had in your entire life. Never happened. No phone calls that something happened to someone that you care about. No shame. No carrying around any sort of guilt from anything in your past because it never happened. Everything is perfect. No fears. No insecurities. No having to like untag yourself in a Facebook photo because you don't like the way you look in that one. Ladies, never having to change clothes in front of the mirror because every outfit you put on is perfect, right? Because there's no shame or insecurities. Everything is perfect. Teenagers, you never have to retake that selfie or snap on Snapchat ever again. First one, it's always perfect. Now, what did it take? Satan comes slithering in. Again, he doesn't start by just blatantly lying. He just speaks 4 words, what I believe 4 of the most dangerous words of all time. Did God really say? And all of a sudden, we began to wonder, well, I wonder if there's more out there. I wonder if there's something that I'm not experiencing. Even though God created us in this perfect condition to have the fullness of joy in who he is, we began to wonder. And the idea of truth, instead of being absolute, in that moment in the Garden of Eden, truth went out the window. Instead of truth being absolute and based purely on what is revealed to us by God and being trusted, truth just became relative. It was like, hey, forget about the truth. Forget about what God says. Why don't you just do whatever looks good? Just make your choices based on what sounds good. Just do whatever feels good at the time. And even though Adam and Eve had perfection in the entire Garden of Eden, they still reached for the illusion of more. And unfortunately, you and I have been reaching for that same illusion ever since. The rest of the narrative of the Bible, all the way up until the time of us right here in 2015, is the tragic human story of you and I over and over and over again, being reminded by God that he has created us to live out this amazing plan and purpose rooted in the truth of who he is. And we exchange the truth of God for a lie. We reach for the illusion of more, and then we decide to settle. Because it's a lot easier sometimes to just settle for a fake, counterfeit version of the life that God created us to live out. Let me tell you how this happened to me. When I was a little kid, I was obsessed with baseball. Any baseball fans here this morning? I wanted this baseball glove for Christmas, and I didn't get it. I got a magic set for Christmas from my grandmother when I was 9 years old, and magic tricks ended up changing my life. The way it changed my life, well, when I was a little kid, I was not a cool, popular kid. I didn't stand in front of groups of people. I would never imagine doing something like that. I wasn't really good at anything. My parents had minimum wage jobs. My dad worked at a factory. My mom worked at a college as a housekeeper. We barely had enough money to get by, let alone money to be one of the cool families in our community. All my clothes came from yard sales and hand-me-downs. In middle school, I couldn't afford to have the right brand plastered on the outside of my shirt or jeans or shoes. I was not a cool kid. But high school cafeteria, freshman year, I remember I would go into the cafeteria, sit down at a table by myself. No one wanted to come sit with me. But, if I reached into my pocket, if I pulled out a deck of cards or a piece of rope, if I started performing magic tricks, everything changed. All of a sudden, the popular kids in my school, they wanted to come and sit at my table. All of the really hot, beautiful girls in my school still would not come sit at my table. I don't know why you're laughing at that part, actually. Maybe you can relate. We got a picture from one of my very first magic shows, my first photo shoot when I was 11 years old. Yeah, that's enough of that. Take that down. Let's take that down. So I went from being 11 years old all of a sudden to having friends. Here's what happened. I don't know why he was sitting by himself that day. He was the quarterback on the football team, one of the most popular kids in my school. And I was at a table sitting by myself as usual, and I finished up my lunch and I was practicing this little card trick. And he was sitting at the table across from me finishing up his lunch. And they look up at each other and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing with those cards?" And I was like, "Well, I'm practicing a card trick." And he's like magic? Do something. And so I do this magic trick. Man, his mind was blown. He was like, "How in the world did you do that?" And I was like, "Well, can you keep a secret?" I was all excited. And he said, "Yeah, of course." And so I smiled and said, "Me too." He leaned forward like he was about to beat me up. He flexed his biceps, which were like the size of my waist at the time. And I was like, "Man, I'm totally messing with you." And he was like, "I'm just kidding too." You know what? That was really cool. And he turns and he's like, "Hey guys, come over here. You got to check out this magic kid." All of his buddies came over. I did more magic. They were all amazed. They told their friends. They told their friends. They told their girlfriends who told their friends. I started becoming one of the most popular kids in my school. I started getting in trouble a lot because we were in the hallway and all the popular kids on the football team would be like, "Harris, second and third period, as soon as the bell rings, locker number 342, magic show." And we would get there and all the kids would like scream and we'd create this traffic jam and kids would scatter and run down the hallway because they thought I was like demonic or demon possessed or something like that. It felt awesome in the moment because I was getting all this attention and approval from other people and I'd never felt that before. All of a sudden things start changing for me, right? And I didn't know any better. I just knew that I didn't have any friends. I couldn't find acceptance. And all of a sudden, I was getting approval from other human beings. And in a very short period of time, the magician, the illusionist, the supposed expert in deception, I became cleverly tricked and deceived myself. I was so desperate for that kind of approval. I was so desperate to feel liked and loved and accepted that I started changing things about myself that I should not have changed. I started making really stupid choices that I knew deep down were wrong, choices I should not have made. But like many of your choices that you regret, in the moment, it all looked like a good idea. There were all these cool kids around telling me it was a good idea, and it was easy to be influenced by it. It even felt like a good idea at the time. But I had yet to learn the valuable lesson from the art of illusion, that things are just not always as they seem. No matter how many friends I made, it didn't feel like it was enough. So I kept developing this dream. I thought, I'm gonna go travel around the world doing magic shows. I'm gonna get rich and famous, and my life will be awesome. And everything in the world around me told me that. Harris, if you could just be seen driving that car, living in that house, living with those people, your life would be awesome. And so by the time I turned 18 and graduated from high school, I'd been booked to perform from coast to coast in almost all 50 of the United States. I went to Europe, did tours there, went to Asia, went to Canada. I even got booked to perform on a cruise ship down in the Caribbean at the age of 16. All of a sudden, I had more friends than I could keep up with. I was making more money, well into six figures, than any teenager could ever possibly need. But it still didn't feel like it was enough. I was still reaching for the illusion of more because I didn't feel like I was enough. You see, I believe with all my heart that the reason why you and me get tricked into reaching for the illusion of more is not always because we feel like we want to have more. It's because we feel like we need to be more, right? Because in order for us to buy what the world is trying to sell us, we have to be convinced that we are not enough as we currently are. And so you guys start to believe the lies. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You're not perfect enough. You're not talented enough. You're not thin enough. You're not beautiful enough. You're just not enough. So to show the world that I was enough, by the time I turned 21 years old, I moved to Franklin, Tennessee. It's a suburb of Nashville. It's actually the wealthiest suburb in our state. We built this big, huge, fancy house in the most popular neighborhood in town, right on the main street. We just filled up our nice new house with cool stuff like leather furniture and big screen TVs, and I parked a couple of really nice, expensive cars in our driveway just to complete our what do they call it? The American dream. Why? Same reason why you guys do all that stuff. It's what the world told me to do. And instead of thinking for myself and getting serious about what the truth is, it was a lot easier to just kind of take a step back and coast through life and let the world do my thinking for me. So I did all the things the world told me to do. The problem is I would come back home after being on tour and I would lay down in my bed staring at the ceiling of my nice new house. And I would think, is this it? Like, is this what we're all supposed to do with our lives? Is this why we were put on planet Earth? Like, we're all supposed to study in school so we can get a good job, We get a good job so that we can make money. We make money just so that we can buy stuff. And the only reason we buy this stuff is so that we can impress other people. And we do it all because we're so desperate to feel loved and accepted. Like, what if we could just stop with that? What if you guys could just let go of the pressure of performing for other people and rediscover your identity and your value as a human being in the eyes of the God who created you? In Him, there is truth, and the truth could set you free. How many of you guys have heard those words before, but truth will set you free? All right, I heard those as a little kid growing up in church. They said, Harris, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. I'm like, okay, cool. The truth will set me free. And I would always walk away going, I don't even know what that means. Or I would think, I live in America. It's a free country. I'm already free. What do you mean the truth will set you free? And what I didn't understand is that while the truth will set you free, being an illusionist taught me that lies and deception can entangle you. You see, if you don't take the stuff that we're talking about seriously here this morning, it will trap you, the lies will entangle you, and they will keep you from living out the life that God created you to live out. So let me share with you one last thing, and through this, I hope to give you a picture of how my life felt when I was trapped and entangled in lies and deception. To do this, I need 2 final volunteers from the audience. I need a couple of tough guys. I got a girl last time. Let's get some guys this time. Maybe a couple of teenagers or maybe a father's son. If that's you, please keep your hand up. Hold it up nice and high so I can find the perfect person for this. Yeah, these 2 guys right here, front row. Come on up. Everybody clap for them both. Give them both a big round of applause for volunteering. Some steps right over there. Make your way up on stage. Thank you guys so much for volunteering. Appreciate you coming up. Love to meet you guys. What's your name, man? Carter. I'm Harris. Nice to meet you, Carter. Your name, sir? Darren. All right, these 2 guys are going to help us out with this. Do you guys have any idea what this is? Straightjacket. All right, this was designed to be worn by the criminally insane to keep them from harming themselves and hurting other people around them. What we have to figure out here this morning is who is standing on stage that's crazy enough to be strapped inside the straitjacket. Okay, all right. That's usually the way that it works. However, you guys can rest assured, legally, I'm not allowed to put anyone inside the straitjacket. Plus, people hurt themselves all the time. They put muscles trying to wiggle their way out of these things. You're here on stage to put me inside the straitjacket. You're going to do that as tightly as possible. They're honestly nice people out there. But deep down inside, they want to see you put me inside of the straitjacket as tight as you possibly can, all right? The tighter you put me inside the jacket, the harder it's going to be for me to get out. That's the whole idea, because the harder it is for me to get out, the more fun and entertaining it's going to be for them to watch me try. And the higher chance I might fail. In case you're wondering, yes, I have failed before, one time in front of a whole bunch of people. Very embarrassing. All right, so stand right here behind my shoulders. Kate is on stage. She is the magic in my life. My wife, Kate, will you guys help me show some appreciation to my wife here this morning for being here? Basically, Kate's on stage. I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't trust you guys. I trust her. All right, so she's here to make sure you guys follow instructions. Begin by pulling it up over my shoulders. You guys are going to buckle those 4 buckles back in the back. Oh, wait. One more thing. Almost forgot. There will be one obvious moment where it'll be clear that you could have hurt me. When that time comes, please be mature. Do not hurt me, okay? The rest of the time, you can make it tight. All right, start with those 4 buckles back in the back. Kate's going to give you instructions. I'm going to explain to you guys how this works. The straitjacket was designed to be worn backwards. That way the person could be put into the jacket against their will, up against a wall or a floor or something like that. It also made it harder to get out of, right? Because the straps are back there in the back. I can't see them. I can't reach them. Even if I could get a hand back there to reach them somehow, they're hard to mess around with and manipulate because the ends of the sleeves are all sewn shut. Everything's reinforced with leather and rivets. The jacket itself, like all regulation straitjackets, is made out of canvas. That's a material that does not stretch or give in any way whatsoever. As soon as they're finished with those 4, you guys all done? I'm going to spin around and give the audience a quick look at your work. They work exactly like leather belts. It may not seem too tight yet, but it's about to get a lot tighter. The next 2 straps are here in the front. This 5th strap was designed to go between the person's legs, just to keep them from being able to pull the jacket up over the top of their heads. This part I was talking about, not so tight on this one. All right, not so tight on this one. Okay? Grab the strap, there's another buckle down in the back. You are gonna make it as tight as it'll go. Do not yank on it fast, okay? Just go slow, okay? Okay, that's good. All right, as soon as you have it buckled, take it into that strap, throw it back through, tuck it underneath one of the other straps in the back. I wanna make sure it's not dangling around where I can get my hand on it easily. Last but not least are the 2 arms. The 2 arms are crossed over in front of the person's body. The 6th and final strap was riveted to the end of the sleeve, ran around the person's body entirely, was buckled to the end of the sleeve on the other side. Guys, I know there's two of you. I know there's only one strap here, but work together as a team, all right? You guys can grab the strap. The other one of you can push in my shoulders, my arms, whatever you want to do to make sure this one is as tight as possible. I'm going to be honest. This is the strap that determines whether it's easy or difficult for me to get out of the straitjacket, all right? So pull it tight. Pull it as tight as you can. You're not going to hurt me. Seriously, go for it. Pull it tight. Pull it tight, guys. Come on, pull it tight. Okay, yeah. That's really tight, actually. I hope this works. Are you guys satisfied? It's definitely tighter than the first service. You guys should be very satisfied. All right. If your job is complete, you should be proud of yourselves. You did an excellent job. You may go back to your seat. I'd shake your hands, but a little tied up at the moment. Excellent job. The straitjacket became famous not after it was implemented and used in asylums, but actually after it was presented as a challenge to the world-famous escape artist by the name of Harry Houdini. Houdini got strapped inside the straitjacket. The first few times he got out, he wasn't hanging upside down up in the air from a rope like we all see in pictures throughout history. He actually flopped around the ground the first few times until he found his way out of the jacket. I'm going to break the rules of magic here this morning. I'm actually going to reveal to you guys the secret of how Houdini got out of the straitjacket. I'm pretty much telling you for two reasons. One, I think it makes it far more interesting. And two, I'm telling you in case you ever find yourself in this position someday. Houdini realized that if he dislocated one of his shoulders, it would give him the ability to stretch one of his arms up over the top of his head. With his shoulder still out of place, he would begin the most difficult part of the escape, getting an arm worked up out of one of the sleeves of the jacket. It may not seem like it, but that's the hardest part, because if the jacket's still on your body, it's hard to get an arm out of the sleeve. But if you could do that, you could take that hand and shove it out of the top and bottom openings and try to stretch around, reach some of the buckles in the back. If you can get undone, or at least loosen 2, maybe 3 of those back buckles, it was enough slack to be able to stretch and pull the jacket up over the top of his head. Now, obviously, this was incredibly painful, which is why the straitjacket escape itself has pretty much become a part of the history books. Most people have never experienced this performed live in person. Guys like me who do 150 presentations a year, I do not do this in every single presentation just because of the toll it takes on our bodies. But I'm in Omaha. So I will now attempt this for your entertainment pleasure. And I'm not making this up, it really is tight. I hope it works. Are you ready? That was pretty weak. Are you ready?
My soul cries out, my soul cries out for you. These bones cry out, these dry bones cry for you to live and move, 'cause only you can raise the dead, can lift my head up. My soul cries out, my soul cries out for you. These bones cry out, these dry bones cry for you to live and move, 'cause only you can raise the dead, can lift my head up. Life is breaking out, it's breaking out. Life is breaking out, it's breaking out, it's breaking out. Jesus, you're the one who saves us, constantly creating.
Um, this is usually the part of the morning where I'm supposed to say, don't try this at home. But guys, let's be honest. If you have a straitjacket laying around your house, we probably need to get you guys in some sort of counseling or something like that here at the church. So instead, let me leave you with this last final thought. I'm not gonna fly here all the way from Nashville and pretend like I know you guys. I don't know you. I don't know much about your city. I don't know much about your family. I don't know what's going on in your life and in your world or what your family is struggling with, what kind of personal situation you find yourself in. I just don't know. But as I've traveled around the world and interacted with over 1 million people in almost 30 countries now, I've learned a lot about humanity. And as I've traveled, I've learned that there's this one thing that every single human being on the planet shares in common. It doesn't matter how old we are, what season of life we're in, what language we speak, or how much money we make, what culture we grow up in. All of us, we share one thing in common. And that is at one time or another, we are all cleverly deceived. Sometimes we even begin to deceive ourselves. And that means we all have one of these, a straitjacket. You see, when people told me that the truth could set me free, before I realized that lies and deception could entangle me, I thought what I said earlier, I'm already free. And what's ironic is that when Jesus said those words in the scriptures in the book of John, the people that he was talking to were confused like I was. They were saying, we've never been slaves to anyone. How could it be that we need to be set free? And Jesus said, anyone who has sinned is a slave to sin. But if you know the truth shall set you free, and you will be free indeed. My friends, the good news is this. I don't know what your straitjacket is. I just know that you have one. And I know that there is truth found in Christ and in Christ alone. The truth found in Christ, through a relationship with God through his son Jesus, can set you free. So whether your straitjacket is some sort of addiction that no matter how hard you seem to fight, you can't seem to be set free from, whether your straitjacket is a less stereotypical addiction, like maybe my addiction, which I struggle with the addiction to the approval of other people. See, the reason I built that house in the right spot and filled it up with the right stuff wasn't because I wanted nice things or was selfish. It's because I was trying to control the entire situation. I wanted to control and maintain the perceptions of other people so they could look at me the way I wanted them to see me. My vocation as an illusionist became my lifestyle. I would walk off the stage and the show never ended. So maybe you're trying to control everything and it's left you feeling trapped and deceived and entangled by lies. For some of you, it might be anger, bitterness because of what someone else did to you. Maybe something you did yourself that you feel like God can never forgive because it's too dark. I had a girl not too long ago in the state of Michigan walk up to me and she said, "Hey Harris, I figured out what my straitjacket is." I was like, "Yeah." And she had tears streaming down her cheeks and she held her hand out like this and she says, "I want you to have it." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I put my hands out like this and she dropped a razor blade into my hand and she said, "That is my straitjacket. And you're the first person in my entire life to tell me the truth about how God sees me. And tonight, I've been set free, so I don't need that anymore." You see, the good news about straitjackets is you don't have to spend your entire life fighting your way out of them on your own. You can take whatever is deceiving you and trapping you and entangling you and lying to you, and you can leave it at the foot of the cross of Jesus and recognize that his death in our place caused that debt to be paid. And a few days later, he rose from the dead so that we might have life, so that you and I couldn't just go through the motions of life, living the lives that the world told us to live, but that we could be set free, that we could be rescued from meaninglessness, that we could have hope and joy that can only be found in Christ, and be set free to live the life that God created us to live out. If we stop and pause, stop reaching for the illusion of more, we can stop settling for counterfeit versions of those lives. So why would you settle for a fake when God is offering the truth found in Christ? I already know the answer. It's easy to be deceived. I hope this morning that you leave here with an awareness of the fact that this world is trying to deceive you. And I hope that you get serious about discovering the truth and that you discover the freedom that you were meant to have. Will you guys pray with me? Bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, all across this room right now, there are people with different situations, different backgrounds. God, I don't know what they're struggling with. I don't know what straitjackets they're trying to fight, but you do. You say in your word that you know the number of hairs on their head. You created and wired every single one of them for a specific purpose. And God, that purpose for so many of them is being robbed from them because they're reaching for illusions and they're settling for counterfeits. But God, you created them to know you, to have a relationship with you. So I pray right now that you would reveal yourself to them, that through your Spirit you would shine a bright spotlight on those lies and deceptions that are trapping them, and that you would reveal yourself to them as the truth that can set them free. God, help us all to not settle. Regardless of the fact that some of us here might be going to church for years, regardless of the fact that some of us might have made a commitment a long time ago to follow Jesus, will you help protect us from deception? Will you help us understand that just because we're Christians does not protect us from being deceived? And that we'll get very serious about daily walking courageously by faith and allowing your Spirit to serve as a guide that constantly is pulling us towards the truth. God, thank you that when you were asked what the truth was, that you didn't list off a bunch of rules and a bunch of facts that we were supposed to memorize and just sort of spew back out for everyone else, but that you just said that you were the truth. Father, you are the way, you are the truth, and you are the life. The only way to the Father is through you. God, thank you that you didn't allow me to escape my straitjacket on my own. I know enough about myself now at this age to recognize that I would have taken the credit for it. Thank you for setting us free, for offering us hope and joy. We ask all these things in your name, in the name of Jesus. And everybody said, amen.